Our next lesson in geometry is called proof formats, the two-column proof, the plan. Okay, we've talked about the statement of the theorem, putting the statement into an if-then format. We talked about the figure, which is drawing a simple diagram to demonstrate what it is that we're trying to prove. We talked about the given information, which is the if part of the if-then statement. We talked about the conclusion to proof, which is the then part of the if-then statement. Now we're going to talk about plan of proof. Our goals for this lesson are to describe several strategies for planning a proof and to match statements with reasons. Okay, so go ahead and get your notes and skip a space, and let's go ahead and write today's date. And today we're going to talk about the plan. This section gives a brief description of the plan you are going to use in the proof. When you're trying to think of a way to do the proof, you can often help yourself by reasoning backwards. Remember we talked about how in algebra you kind of had to work backwards? Geometry is kind of like that too. You kind of have to reason backwards. Have you ever been given a maze and then want you to figure out this maze, and you learn real quick if you start at the answer, it's easier to do the maze. Of course, in the maze situation, that might be more like cheating, I don't know. But in geometry, it's important that we learn how to reason backwards. Start from the conclusion. Think the conclusion is true if some fact A is true. Fact A in turn will be true if B is true, and keep working backwards until you've arrived at the beginning. This will help you devise a plan. You can also look back at previously proven theorems for possible methods of proof. Many students find this is the most difficult part of geometry. Two-column proofs will challenge your logical thinking skills. It will challenge you. Do not become discouraged. With time and practice, you will become proficient. Another method that will help you develop your plan is to closely look at the given information. Many times the given information will provide a hint about the direction the proof should allow. Okay? So pay attention to the given. Okay, the given info will give you a hint or a clue. For example, given lines A and B intersect at point C. Triangle XYZ is an isosceles triangle. Lines A, B, and C intersect at point C. Triangle XYZ is an isosceles triangle. Well, let's start with the first piece of information. We are given two lines. Okay, I better write this down or you're going to get lost. It says given lines A and B, intersect at point C. Okay, they intersect at point C, and it says triangle XYZ is an isosceles triangle. Okay, let's start with the first piece of information. We know that we have two lines and that they intersect at point C. What else can we determine from this information? Well, we know that two lines can only intersect at one point. That may not seem too helpful, but it just might give enough information to start a proof. Okay. what about the given information triangle XYZ is an isosceles triangle? What other information can you deduce from this statement? Okay, well normally, remember, we would do our diagram. We have two lines. We have line A and B. Now if this is going to be an isosceles triangle, it's not going to be able to go straight up and down, so it's probably going to have to go like this. Okay, so here's line A, here's line B. They intersect at point C. Okay, now it says XYZ is an isosceles triangle. Okay, triangle XYZ is an isosceles triangle. What other information can you deduce from this statement? What are the properties of an isosceles triangle? It's a triangle with two equal sides. The fact that this triangle has two equal sides may lead us to discover the path of our proof should take. When coming up with a plan, don't overlook the information contained in the given. The actual proof will be a series of numbered statements in one column with a like-numbered column next to it for the reasons. Each step must have a reason associated with it. You must explain the why behind the step. The only things that can be used as reasons, remember, are given data, definitions, or the postulates and theorems that we talked about. Those are the only things you can use to prove it. Okay? Alright. For example, they shouldn't have started you with that and then not told you how to do it. This is a statement reason two-column proof. We're going to have two columns. We're going to have a T-chart. We'll just call it a T-chart. This is my statement. This is my reason. And this has to be neat. Okay? Let's say that I have given, I don't know if I have time, I don't know if I have room to write it up here or not. I should have written it first. Given 4x minus 6 equals 2 times x plus 3. Let's say this is given, and it wants me to prove that x equals 6. I wrote that over too far. Prove that x equals 6. Right? Well, first of all, I'm going to write my given. 4x minus 6 equals 2 times x plus 3. And yes, I want this in your notes. Okay, this is given. So my reason is it's given. Okay? Now, the next thing I would do, we know we have to get rid of the parentheses first. We have 4x minus 6 equals 2 times x is 2x plus 2 times 3 is 6. Why? We know this because of the distributive property. So over here I can write distributive property, and you can abbreviate, that's fine. Okay? So I proved that because the distributive property says I can do that. Now I would, let's see. I would probably subtract the 2x from both sides. It doesn't matter which one you start with. Okay, I subtract those from both sides. Those cancel out. I have 2x minus 6 equals 6. Okay, why? I subtracted. So this is going to be my subtraction property of equality. Okay? Now what do? The next thing I'm going to have to do is add 6 to both sides. These cancel out. So I have 2x equals 12. Why? I added, so this is my addition property of equality. Okay. Now what do I do? Well, now I know I have to divide both sides by 2. So x equals 6. Why? Well, I divided by 2, so this is the division property. Of equality. Okay, now I proved it. See, I ended up with x equals 6. But I had to give a reason for every step. I had to prove every step. We know each step in the statement column is true because we're using deductive reasoning and listing the general principle in the reason column. Step 1 is true because it's given, and the given is always true. Okay. Step 2 is true because we use the distributive property. Step 3 is true because we use the subtraction property. Step 4 is true because we use the addition property. We added 6 to both sides. Step 5 is true because we divided both sides by 2. Okay? Each proof will be different from the previous proof. Unfortunately, it's not a matter of memorizing certain steps to a process, like algebra is, but it's a matter of developing your logical thinking ability. Okay? Alright. I think we'll do one together. Okay? Number 1. This is number 1. Number 1 says, this is what it looks like. Match the reason with the statement. Okay? Let me move my arrow. Okay. First of all, which one would be given? Well, we can probably tell it's probably going to be the longest one. So 12 minus x equals 20 minus 5x. We can probably pretty well assume that that's the given. So given is going to be the top one. Now, what are we going to do? How are we going to get 12 plus 4x equals 20? What are we going to have to do? It looks like, which one's missing? It looks like the 5x is missing. So how would we get rid of the 5x? It says minus 5x, so we're going to have to add 5x to both sides, right? Which would be the addition property. So the addition property is going to be second. Now if you look at the next two, if we have 12 plus 4x plus equals 20. Now in the one underneath it says 4x plus 8. So what's missing in those two steps? 4x plus 8. Look at the one of 12 plus 4x equals 20. What's missing? It looks like the 12 is missing. So how did we get rid of the 12? Well, we had to subtract it. Right? So that's going to be the subtraction property of equality. So we have 4x equals 8. How are we going to get x minus 2? We had to divide by 4. Let me show this to you, just in case you're lost, which you might be. Let me explain this, okay? This is what we did. We have given, we have 12 minus x equals 20 minus 5x. Okay, this is given. Okay, that's given. Now what are we going to do next? Well, let's get rid of the numbers first. Let's get rid of the let's get rid of the x first. We have to add 5x to both sides. Okay, these cancel out, and I'm left with 12 My signs are different, so I look at the sign of the larger number, it's plus. 5 minus 1 is 4, so 4x equals 20. What did we do? We added. That's why this is the addition property. Okay? Now I have this. What do I do now? Now I'm going to have to, I have numbers on both sides, so I'm going to have to get rid of the numbers. So I have to subtract 12. Those cancel out. So I have 4x equals 8. Why? I subtracted, so this is the subtraction property. Okay? Now what do I have to do? Well, I have to divide by 4. X equals 2. Why? Well, I divided, so this is the division property. Okay? Sometimes it helps to just write it down and do it, then you can understand. Then you can understand why it is that. Okay, that's number 1. Okay, now the other problems are pretty much like that. Let's go to number 5. Number 5 says, true or false? When developing a plan for a proof, it is important to look at the given information. True or false? Well, that's true. That's our starting point. We start with whatever's given. That's where we start, right? So we have to look at it. So 5 is true. Number 7 says, which of the following can be used as reasons in a 2-column proof? Okay. Let's see, there's 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can we use given information as a reason in a 2-column proof? Given information. Yes. Can we use postulates? Yes. Can we use definitions? Yes. Can we use theorems? Yes. So it looks like it's going to be all of the above. So number 7 is all of the above. Okay? Alright. I want you to take your time and I want you to do this lesson. Remember what we did on number 1? We wrote the problem on the board and then did every step to figure out why. If that will help you, do it that way. Okay? And if you need help, I'll be glad to help you with it. Go ahead and finish this lesson.